Have you ever wondered what happens in Middle-earth when the great heroes are resting? We will delve into the untold stories of quiet, everyday life. The smell of damp earth in a hobbit's garden at dawn, the taste of a fresh catch by a misty stream, and the whisper of healing herbs in the gardens of Rivendell. Let us know in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is for you. And now, get comfortable and imagine that beyond your window lie not your usual view, but the green hills of the Shire. Have you ever actually stopped to consider what a hobbit holds dearer than even the most epic second breakfast? Seriously, think about it. It's not treasure, not adventure, definitely not shoes. Without a doubt, it's his garden. It's not just some patch of dirt with a few plants, you know? For a hobbit, it's a living, breathing extension of his very soul. Every single leaf, every tiny dewdrop out there whispers of peace and purpose. And today, we're going to step right into one of these magical spaces, spending an entire day right alongside its dedicated caretaker. We'll watch this incredible dance between a human, or rather, a hobbit, and nature from the first light of dawn all the way until dusk. So, just picture this. The very first rays of sun are just barely kissing the tops of those ancient apple trees, softly breaking through a gentle morning mist. The air, oh, it's just so fresh, absolutely filled with the scent of damp earth, the sleepy fragrance of flowers still folded in on themselves, and that subtle sweetness from yesterday's rain. Our hobbit, he doesn't wake up to some jarring alarm clock. No, he's stirred by the soft chirping of the first birds, that growing, gentle chorus of the awakening forest. His steps, as he moves across the creaking floorboards of his little home, are unhurried, each one just brimming with anticipation. First things first, of course, a steaming cup of herbal tea. Mint, usually, with just a hint of heather honey, all gathered right there in his very own garden naturally. He sips it slowly, standing right on the threshold, really inhaling that cool morning air, just soaking in the quiet. It's only broken by the soft rustle of leaves and that steady, almost meditative hum of insects starting their day. Then, stepping out onto the porch, he breathes in that truly incomparable aroma of the garden waking up. Every single dewdrop on a spiderweb stretched out like a tiny glistening hammock between the current branches. It looks like a miniature sparkling treasure. He walks through his domain, no rush at all, as if he's greeting each and every one of its inhabitants personally. First, he checks on the young pea shoots, whose little tendrils are already reaching, just reaching, for the supports he's carefully provided. Then, over to the strawberry beds, checking if those first perfectly ripe berries have matured, still cool from the night air. This morning walk isn't just some quick inspection, you understand? It's a real meditation. It's his way of tuning into the day's harmony, feeling the pulse of the earth itself. He notices every new bud, every little shoot emerging, every tiny sprout pushing its way through the soil. His gaze, it catches the very first hints of any possible disease or pests. But right now, at dawn, everything just looks perfect, absolutely bursting with life and promise. The sun, she climbs higher now, painting the sky in these soft, golden hues. Now, it's time for some more substantial tasks. Our hobbit heads over to his small shed. You know that smell? It's a wonderful mix of wood and dried herbs. Tools hang perfectly in their places. An old, but still remarkably reliable spade. A rake with those long, graceful teeth, several different hoes, a small garden trowel, and of course, his absolute favorite, that polished brass watering can, carefully passed down through generations. He picks it up, fills it with fresh, cool well water, and begins his rounds. He carefully waters the delicate, still tender sprouts that simply couldn't drink their fill from the morning dew. The water pours out gently, no force at all, almost like a blessing, just penetrating right down to the roots, giving life and strength. Today, you see, is a special day. It's a day for planting new seeds. So, our Hobbit heads back to the shed, retrieving several truly cherished packets. Carrot seeds, tiny, almost invisible, like dust. Radish seeds, a bit bigger, promising that early crisp harvest. And of course, beans. Big, smooth seeds that feel so incredibly satisfying to hold right there in the palm of your hand. He carefully prepares the bed, leveling the soil with his rake, breaking up the very last clods. The soil here, it's just beautiful. Dark, crumbly, incredibly fertile. He's thoughtfully enriched it with compost from last year's leaves and kitchen scraps. That smell of fresh, damp earth, it just fills the air, promising such abundance. The Hobbit kneels, or really, he settles himself onto special soft kneeling pads to protect his trusty old trousers. First, he makes small furrows using the edge of a thin board. Then, gently opening a packet of those tiny carrot seeds, he begins to sow them. He doesn't just scatter them haphazardly. Oh no. Each seed settles into its place with surprising precision, with real intent. His fingers work so deftly, so habitually, feeling each tiny grain. Then he carefully covers the furrows with soil, lightly compacting it with his palm. For the beans, he makes slightly deeper depressions, placing 2 or 3 seeds in each hole to make sure they reliably germinate. You see, each seed is like a small miracle, a potential imbued by nature itself, and the Hobbit treats it with the deepest respect. He truly believes that every seed contains the magic of a future harvest, and his job, his simple task, is just to help that magic unfold. After sowing, he takes his watering can again and thoroughly, yet still so gently, waters those newly planted beds. The water slowly seeps through the earth, carrying the seeds deeper, enveloping them in that vital moisture necessary for awakening. In this moment, you can feel it. He feels a profound sense of satisfaction. He is a co-creator, a true helper to nature, and his work, it just fills him with joy. He knows, of course, that not all seeds will sprout, but that's just part of the natural cycle, and he accepts it. The main thing, for him, is just to give them the best possible chance. Midday arrives. The sun is high now, and its rays are becoming more palpable. You can really feel them. This is the time when the garden truly comes alive, not just through its plants, but through all its busy inhabitants. Bees, those diligent workers and fantastic pollinators, they begin their active work. Their soft, almost lulling hum just fills the air, creating this incredibly soothing background sound. The Hobbit, he often just sits there on his small wooden bench, nestled perfectly under the shade of an old pear tree, and he simply observes their bustling, yet wonderfully synchronized activity. He watches them flit from flower to flower, from the delicate purple bells of borage to the bright orange calendulas, from the lush lavender bushes to the humble bean blossoms. Each bee, it's like a tiny messenger of summer, bringing life and fertility. Watching them, it's almost a meditation itself, allowing him to completely forget the world's hustle and just be right here, right now, in this oasis of calm. He knows deep down that it is thanks to these tireless little workers that his garden will be so abundant with fruit. After a short, well-deserved break, the Hobbit turns his attention to other really important tasks. Weeding, for him, isn't just about getting rid of some undesirable plants. Oh no, it's another way of communicating with the earth. He carefully inspects each bed, gently pulling out unwanted plants that are competing with his cultivated ones for nutrients and that precious sunlight. He does this by hand, feeling each root, always trying not to harm the delicate roots of his beloved charges. It's not a quick job, but it brings him such immense satisfaction. He notices how the cleared bed immediately looks fresher, as if it's sighing with relief. Some weeds, he doesn't just discard them. Instead, he sends them straight to the compost pile, where they'll transform into valuable fertilizer for future harvests. Nothing, you see, nothing in his garden goes to waste. Sometimes, taller plants, like his magnificent tomatoes or those climbing cucumbers, they need a little bit of help. They need to be tied up so their heavy fruits don't break the stems. The Hobbit uses soft twine and sturdy bamboo stakes, gently guiding the plants, helping them grow vertically towards the light. He also inspects the fruit bushes and trees, carefully removing any dry or damaged branches so that the plant's energy goes directly into forming beautiful fruit rather than just maintaining excess foliage. This not only improves the harvest, but it also makes the garden look so much neater and healthier. Mulching. That's another one of the Hobbit's favorite methods. He carefully lays a layer of dry grass, straw, or wood chips around the plants. This helps retain moisture in the soil, wonderfully suppresses weed growth, and gradually, slowly, enriches the earth, decomposing and turning into nutritious humus. It's almost like a cozy blanket for the soil, protecting it from drying out and those tricky temperature fluctuations. The day, it gradually leans towards evening now. The sun's rays soften, taking on this incredible golden hue. The Hobbit makes a final round of the garden, just to make sure all his charges are perfectly ready for the night. He waters again the plants that particularly need moisture after a warm day, especially those that were just planted. And then he picks a few ripe pea pods, a couple of those beautiful red tomatoes, a fragrant bunch of dill, and a handful of fresh strawberries. All for dinner, of course. This isn't just food, you understand? It's the very fruit of his labor, his careful attention, his deep love for the earth. Every single vegetable, every berry, it's an embodiment of his life philosophy, patience, diligence, and that truly profound connection to nature. Sunset. Ah, this is the most magical hour in the garden. Golden and crimson hues just spread across the sky, painting the clouds in absolutely incredible colors. Long shadows glide across the grass, giving the garden a mysterious, almost fairy tale appearance. Birds sing their evening songs, preparing for sleep. The air, it grows cooler, absolutely filled with the scent of night-blooming flowers. You know, honeysuckle, and that wonderfully fragrant tobacco. And there he is, our Hobbit, sitting on his favorite bench right there under the pear tree. He looks at his garden, which has transitioned so beautifully from the crisp freshness of dawn to the deep tranquility of evening. He sees those neat beds with young sprouts, promising such a rich harvest. He sees those lush tomato bushes with fruits already ripening, just waiting. He sees those bright flowers still attracting the last of the bees, and those tall sunflowers reaching, just reaching, for the sky. The garden, It responds to him with its sheer generosity, its quiet beauty, its silent promise of life. His hands, yes, they're tired from the day's work, but his heart, it's absolutely filled with deep, genuine satisfaction. He didn't just cultivate the land, you see. He cared for a living world, creating harmony and such beauty with his own two hands. Every single day spent in the garden is like a small life in itself, full of discoveries, honest labor, and such profound tranquility. It's not just a hobby for him. It's a whole way of life, a philosophy that really teaches patience, keen observation, and deep respect for nature. A hobbit's garden isn't just a source of food. Oh no. It's also a constant source of peace of mind, a sanctuary where one can truly forget the hustle and bustle, listen to oneself, and feel deeply part of something much, much greater. As the very last rays of sun finally disappear below the horizon, and stars timidly begin to appear in that darkening sky, the hobbit rises, casting one last, lingering look at his well-tended, beautiful garden. He knows that tomorrow, with the first gentle light of dawn, this wonderful cycle will begin anew, and he will gladly, joyfully embrace it. This, my friends, is the true happiness of a hobbit: to be in harmony with the earth, to care for it with all his heart, and to see it reciprocate, bestowing its incredible gifts upon him. And in this simple, yet so profound, unity with nature, he finds the true meaning and pure joy of each day lived. If this peaceful journey through a hobbit's garden resonated with you, please do hit that like button, subscribe for more content just like this, and let me know in the comments below what your absolute favorite thing about gardening is. Have you ever truly stopped to wonder what it must feel like for a creature whose very existence is an endless, agonizing torment, when just for a fleeting moment, a spark of true, pure satisfaction finally, unbelievably, arrives? I'm not talking about some quick passing pleasure here. No, I mean a deep, primal fulfillment, the kind that, for a precious, brief instant, silences every single maddening thought, every obsessive idea, that entire endless internal monologue full of fear and hatred. Can you imagine that? Now, picture hunger. But not the gentle gnawing you might feel before lunch. Not at all. This is an all-consuming, burning, utterly unbearable emptiness. It doesn't just eat at your insides. It seeps into your very soul. It makes every single breath a torture, every sound a grating noise, every passing moment an agonizing, endless wait for any kind of relief. This kind of hunger, you see, it drives you mad. It saps every ounce of strength, transforming existence itself into an unending chain of suffering. And then, just like that, suddenly, miraculously, this hunger subsides. Not into blissful, absolute peace. Oh no, that's simply not possible for a creature like this. Rather, it's a temporary, almost impossibly fragile truce with his own ceaselessly tormenting demons, those twisted entities he's been forced to coexist with for centuries. It's precisely this unique, almost sacred moment for him, this precious minute of true, primal peace, that we're going to try and share today with one of fantasy's most tragic, most tormented, yet astonishingly resilient and terrifying characters, the wretched Gollum. His days, stretching back across the centuries of his twisted, cursed life, have always been crammed full, filled with relentless pursuit, with cunning, evasive tricks, and a paranoid, all-encompassing fear that literally never leaves him. The deep shadows of the caves, the cold, damp rocks his gnarled, sinewy, bare feet stepped upon, the faint whispers of echoes bouncing off unseen vaults, like ancient chilling voices from a long-lost past. All of this, for him, was home. It was his prison. It was his only bleak world. A world, mind you, absolutely brimming with shadows and lurking dangers, where even the slightest rustle could instantly mean a terrifying threat. But then, today, amidst countless days of utter despair, of fruitless searching, of constant unyielding torment, he was incredibly, almost unbelievably, lucky. This was a true and almost unimaginable stroke of fortune, bordering on a genuine miracle in his otherwise utterly joyless existence. In the crushing depths of one of the countless, anonymous underground lakes, a place where not a single ray of sunlight has ever or will ever penetrate, where absolute, primal, oppressive darkness reigns supreme. His gnarled, sinewy, yet surprisingly nimble fingers felt something. Something alive. Something slippery. Something furiously thrashing in the water, desperately, violently trying to escape his tenacious grip. It was a fish. And not just some tiny minnow. No. This was a large, silvery, writhing, firm mass of living flesh, just bursting with raw life and energy. It wasn't just food, you understand? Oh no. This was a true, life-giving source of energy. A precious, vital substance that for a brief, yet absolutely crucial moment, could actually distract him from his eternal obsession. Distract him from those maddening thoughts of my precious, of what was lost, of his searing hatred for anyone who ever dared to touch it. With this trembling, so desperately desired prey, held firmly, almost convulsively clasped in his hands, shaking with tension and a mad, exhilarating anticipation, Gollum didn't rush. There was none of that reckless fury you'd expect from a wild beast, devoid of reason and driven solely by untamed animal instinct, just falling upon its food. No. In his twisted, damaged, yet extraordinarily keen mind, even at this peak moment of pure hunger and raw craving, there existed his own perverse logic, his own primitive, yet unwavering understanding of ritual, of the sheer importance of this specific moment. He needed a place. And not just any place. It had to be absolutely hidden, absolutely safe. A spot where no one, not even the most ghostly, creeping shadows, not even the faintest whisper of the underground winds, could possibly disturb his precious, hard-won moment. A moment, you see, that belonged only to him, his lonely, tormented self. So, he began to make his way, slowly, carefully, across the damp, incredibly slippery rocks. His long, thin fingers clung to sparse protrusions, to tiny cracks in the rock. His sunken eyes, gleaming with an eerie light in the absolute darkness, incessantly, feverishly, examined every single corner, every fissure, every unevenness in the rock, searching, always searching, for that perfect refuge. Perhaps behind that massive fallen stalactite that had tumbled down ages ago and now lay as part of the grim underground landscape. Or perhaps in a tiny crevice, one too narrow, too inconspicuous for any other, larger or less careful creature. A crevice, just small enough that he could squeeze into and finally feel relatively safe. Yes, there it was, at last. A small, almost invisible niche, barely discernible in the absolute pitch blackness, smelling of damp cave air, of eternal moisture, and of a deep, absolute solitude. It was the perfect spot, his temporary sanctuary. Curled up in this niche, like some ancient, long-forgotten, yet surprisingly resilient creature from a nightmare, he carefully, with an almost shocking tenderness, pressed his prey against his emaciated, yet surprisingly strong chest. The cold of the fish, so incredibly pleasant, so anticipated, seeped right through his thin, almost transparent skin, making his muscles contract. But it wasn't a repulsive cold, not at all. Rather, it was a desired, a salvific cold, a true harbinger of the imminent, much-needed satiation. He brought the fish even closer to his sharp, predatory face, his flaring nostrils greedily drawing in the complex aroma, the distinct smell of lake slime, of fresh, still untouched flesh, and a light, almost imperceptible metallic tang of blood that was about to become his food, his very life. It wasn't just a smell. No, it was the smell of pure survival, the smell of victory over crushing hunger, the smell of the raw, primal life he was about to devour. His thin, needle-sharp teeth, teeth that could so easily tear the flesh of almost any creature, greedily and somewhat awkwardly, yet with immense, undeniable force, plunged directly into the shimmering moist scales. There was a sharp, dry, yet surprisingly low crunch, a quiet but utterly distinct sound, echoing in the small enclosed cave, like the very whisper of hunger itself, finally, blessedly, finding its satisfaction. The first bite, raw, cold, slippery, almost escaping his maw. It held the taste of deep, dark water and untamed, freshly taken life. Gollum did not chew in the usual sense of the word, as intelligent creatures do. Oh, absolutely not. He tore, ripping the flesh, savagely tearing it from the still trembling bones, his throat emitting a low, guttural, barely audible growl, like the sound of an ancient predator who had finally found its prey and was truly relishing it, fully, completely immersed in the act of consumption, forgetting every other thing in the entire world. In this brief, yet for him, infinitely important moment, absolutely nothing else existed but that fish. There was no cursed, hated ring, no haunting memories of Bilbo, no desperate, endless pursuit of Frodo. There was no paralyzing, all-consuming fear, no debilitating, eternal hatred, no exhausting, endless thirst for power that had, in fact, destroyed him. There was only the fish, its living, yielding flesh, its pure, primal taste, its very substance that gradually, slowly, but so very surely, filled the gaping, bottomless void in his stomach. And then, as if by some magical means, it began to fill that eternal, agonizing emptiness in his tormented soul. An emptiness that even his precious artifact, you see, could never truly fill. Every single bite was like a salvific healing balm, quieting the burning within, soothing the torments he constantly experienced. It was the only thing that mattered. Absolutely everything else was completely erased from his consciousness, as if it had simply never existed. The world itself narrowed to the size of this tiny niche, to the smell of the fish, to the sensations on his tongue, to the damp cold, to the pleasant ache in his jaws, to the comforting, growing heaviness in his stomach. He ate quickly, yes, but not hastily, not chaotically, as if afraid the prey might suddenly vanish. Rather, with a wild, almost frightening focus, with an absolute, complete immersion in the process, as if it were the single most important ritual of his entire life. His sunken eyes were narrowed, his gaze directed inward, towards the overwhelming sensations that flooded his very being, as if he was desperately trying to memorize them, to engrave them forever onto his very soul. His fingers, once delicate human fingers, now gnarled, calloused, and clawed, squeezed the trembling, diminishing carcass with a strength that could crush stone. The fish disappeared piece by piece, its cold flesh, so vibrantly alive just a second ago, now warmed by the heat of his own body. And then, dissolved into the acidic abyss of his stomach, becoming a part of him. His very blood and flesh. He felt each piece descend, his desiccated body fill, energy pouring into his veins, temporarily silencing the relentless fatigue. Every bitten piece, every swallowed sinew, every gulp was not merely an act of nourishment. It was a profound, almost existential act of consumption, one that pulled him further and further away from the external, hostile, cursed world, away from the endless noise of his own obsessive thoughts, from the debilitating, infinite echo of my precious that usually filled every single corner of his mind. In this brief, yet incredibly precious span of time, this creature that for centuries had existed only as a pale shadow of its former self became something far simpler, more primitive, purer, and, in his own twisted, morbid understanding of happiness, perhaps even happy. This was a moment when his sanity, usually so relentlessly tormented by madness, gained a surprising clarity, a focus, accessible to him only in these rare, fleeting moments of such primal satisfaction. This was his private, secret paradise, when nothing remained of the fish but a miserable, gnawed skeleton, which could offer nothing more than an empty promise. When every single bone was cleaned and every last scale stripped away, Gollum slowly leaned back. He let out a long, deep, utterly sated sigh. It was a sound so rarely heard from his throat, a sound of true, complete satisfaction, utterly unlike his usual cries of agony or suffering. He ran his long, thin tongue over his sharp teeth, then licked his fingers, trying to gather every, even the tiniest, invisible particle of the lingering taste, just to prolong this blissful sensation for one more second. The smell of the fish, its cold, fresh, slightly metallic aroma, lingered on his skin, on his tongue, deeply imprinted in his memory, as a stark reminder of something good, something real. The world around him, which had temporarily vanished, completely erased from his consciousness, now began to slowly, gradually seep back into his awareness. The unpleasant cold of the stones he sat on, the deep, impenetrable gloom of the cave that always surrounded him, the oppressive silence that, he knew, would all too soon fill again with sinister whispers and the familiar, tormenting voices of his mind. But for this brief, truly precious moment, he was free. Free from the debilitating hunger that was his constant companion. Free from the paralyzing fear that pursued him relentlessly. Free from the obsessive, maddening idea. From the eternal craving for the ring. Free, even, from himself. From the version of himself he hated yet simultaneously served. From his very name and his cursed fate. This wasn't freedom in the usual human sense. It was just an instant. A moment of pure, primal peace, almost weightless, like a gentle breeze. The satiation of hunger that had brought him a temporary, almost forgotten sense of tranquility, like a light, almost unreal touch of a lost paradise. But oh, how quickly such moments vanish, don't they? Like smoke dissolving into the air, leaving absolutely no trace. The void that hunger had so long and painfully filled was now occupied by another emptiness. The emptiness from the absence of the fish's taste, from the fading, melting sensation of satiety, which had been so deeply desired and now so cruelly slipped away. And now, the shadows of the ring, long and deeply woven into the very fabric of his tormented being, began to return, as if crawling out from the darkest corners of his very soul. Their whisper, their name, my precious. It began to coil around him, insistently, relentlessly, growing louder and louder, drowning out the last remnants of peace he had so treasured. Gollum's eyes darted again, becoming malicious, suspicious, searching. The minute of peace was over. It was brief. Yes, undoubtedly so. But it was real. Truly, palpably real. And that, in a way, made it even more valuable and even more bitterly painful when it was gone. Just enough, you see, to remind him that once, in the distant past, another state of being might have existed. A state without this eternal, unbearable torment, without this endless, desperate search. But this memory was too fragile, too ephemeral, too distant to truly hold in his damaged mind, to become any kind of anchor in his ever-present madness. He tossed the fish bones aside, and they fell with a light, dry thud onto the damp rock, the sound seeming too loud, too harsh in the encroaching silence, breaking that fragile balance he'd found. And now, his gnarled, nervous fingers began restlessly twitching in the air again, his eyes fixed on the void, searching for something else, something far more important, something far more desired than simple, albeit salvific, fish. The peace was gone. It was merely a guest, a fleeting vision. The eternal craving had returned, the one that is never truly sated, the one that was his true, unending curse. And so, this small story of Gollum's minute of peace comes to an end. Perhaps it's just a tiny drop in the boundless ocean of his suffering, in his endless agony. But it remarkably clearly shows us how even the most tormented, the most damaged creature can still find a brief, pure moment of satisfaction, completely disconnecting from the rest of the world, from all its internal demons. And this, perhaps, reminds us that even in the darkest, most hopeless depths of human, or indeed non-human existence, there is always a possibility, however fleeting, for peace, for a reprieve, for mere seconds of true happiness. But in Gollum's case, this peace was always destined to yield to the darkness. His eternal curse, which he himself, in essence, chose long ago when he first took his precious in hand. And so, from this small cave, the story of his eternal search continues, without end, without hope for true, final peace. Because for him, true peace would be oblivion. Oblivion of the cursed ring. And oblivion, as long as the ring exists and calls, is simply impossible. His hunger isn't just hunger for fish. It is hunger for his precious. And this hunger, alas, is never, ever satisfied. Never. It is his eternal curse, continuing endlessly in the infinity of dead caves, giving him not a second of oblivion, not the slightest hint of true peace. If you found this exploration of Gollum's brief solace as captivating as I did, please consider giving this video a like and sharing your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the lore and psychology of fantasy's most intriguing characters. Imagine a place where every leaf, every flower, breathes magic and ancient wisdom, where the whisper of the wind carries stories of days long past, and time itself slows its pace to allow beauty to blossom in full splendor. This is Rivendell, or Imladris, as the elves call it, a valley hidden from the world's hustle and bustle, a refuge for those seeking peace, knowledge, and of course, healing. Today, we will transport ourselves there to silently and peacefully observe one of the most important and delicate elven occupations, the care of their healing gardens. Here, amidst bubbling streams and melodic birdsong, under the shade of ancient trees, true well-being is born, along with a deep sense of harmony with the surrounding world. In a world full of dangers, anxieties, and fleeting moments, there is always a keen need for nature's healing powers. her inexhaustible gifts. The elves, being keepers of ancient knowledge and deeply connected to the very essence of the earth, to its living breath, have for centuries honed the art of using herbs. Their careful cultivation, meticulous harvesting, and preservation for future generations. In Rivendell, this is not just gardening in the usual human sense. It is a profound, almost sacred act, imbued with boundless respect for life and a subtle, intuitive understanding of the energies that circulate within every plant, every root, and every flower. Every rootlet, every delicate petal here is valued not only for its physical, tangible properties, but also for the spirit it carries, for its invisible but powerful force. Early morning in Rivendell is especially beautiful and filled with a special, pure, radiant light. The first rays of sun have just appeared over the jagged peaks of the misty mountains, gradually painting the sky in soft, pastel shades of pink, lilac, and gold, heralding a new day full of hope. The air is fresh and crystal clear, imbued with the complex, multifaceted aroma of damp earth. Awakened after the night's coolness, woody pine needles, and delicate flowers that have already opened to meet the new day, fragrant most strongly at dawn, when their essential oils are most active. One can only hear the measured, soothing gurgle of waterfalls cascading from sheer cliffs, creating a natural, melodic tune, and the melodious, joyful singing of birds greeting the dawn with their polyphonic, cheerful trills. And amidst this tranquil symphony, stepping silently, almost not touching the dewy grass, like a ghost or a gentle breeze, she appears, the elf Eleanor, keeper of the healing gardens, their constant patroness. Her name means star sun, and it perfectly reflects her essence, gentle, like a morning ray, yet radiant, giving life and hope, like the celestial body itself. Eleanor is not young by human standards. Her age is measured in hundreds of years. But for an elf, she is full of vitality, energy, and wisdom accumulated over many centuries of careful observation and diligent labor. Her long, raven black hair, gleaming with blue in the sun's rays, is braided into an intricate plait elegantly coiling around her head, adorned with living flowers gathered from her own garden, a symbol of her deep connection to it. Her attire is simple but elegant, a linen tunic of a delicate green color, so skillfully woven that it merges with the surrounding greenery, making her almost invisible among the foliage, and light leather sandals, allowing her to feel the earth beneath her feet. Her movements are graceful, fluid, and precise. Each is imbued with millennia of experience and an innate harmony with nature, as if she dances with the wind and the plants, understanding their silent language. In her hands, there are no heavy tools or bulky equipment that would be alien to the natural environment and would disturb its peace. Only a small, elegant watering can made of polished copper, adorned with delicate elven carving, featuring patterns of leaves and flowers, filled with the purest water from mountain springs, and sharp, blade-like scissors, crafted from a special alloy, perhaps mithril or another elven metal, capable of gently cutting even the most delicate stems without leaving damage or jagged edges that could harm the plant. First, Eleanor makes a round of the gardens, her gaze gliding over each plant, assessing its condition. She doesn't just look at them with her eyes, she feels them, as if sensing their pulse. Her palm gently touches the leaves, her fingers carefully brush the stems, and she seems to read the history of each flower, each blade of grass, catching their needs, their mood, their hidden ailments. This is an intuitive connection, a deep understanding available only to those who truly live in harmony with nature, breathing in unison with it. Today, her attention is particularly focused on Athelas, kingsfoil, or kingsfoil, as it is also called in ancient lore. This is one of the most revered and rare plants in Rivendell, known for its incredible, almost mystical healing properties. It is said that Athelas can heal even the deepest wounds and relieve pain caused by the most terrible ailments, but only if it is used by the hands of a true king, a descendant of ancient lineages. However, its common use, available to all, is a powerful antidote, an effective pain reliever, and a source of vitality for weakened, exhausted beings. Athelas bushes are delicate green, with long, elegant, lance-shaped leaves, sometimes adorned with tiny, almost transparent white flowers resembling miniature stars fallen to earth. They grow in a specially designated part of the garden, secluded and protected from direct sunlight and strong winds, where soft, diffused light falls upon them through the dense canopies of ancient trees, and from where the most picturesque view of the waterfall opens. This special microclimate promotes their best, lush growth and maximum accumulation of healing properties. Eleanor kneels beside one of the bushes, and her eyes, deep and wise, the color of an autumn forest, examine every leaf, every vein, every curve of the stem with incredible meticulousness. She notices that the soil around it is a little dry, despite the morning dew, which has already evaporated from open areas, and the slight humidity of the air. Carefully, almost reverently, as if addressing a living, sensitive being, she lifts her watering can. The water flows in a thin, steady, soothing stream, gently touching the soil around the plant's roots. She does not rush, allowing the earth to absorb each drop gradually, like a sponge, avoiding erosion of the roots or damage to delicate stems that could be washed away by a strong current. For elves, water is not just life-giving moisture. It is a carrier of energy, pure, healing, and regenerating. And they believe that by watering plants with love, attention, and good intention, they transmit a part of this energy to them, enhancing their own innate healing properties, making them even more powerful. Every drop dripping from the emerald leaves seems to fill the air with a new, inexpressible freshness, revitalizing not only the plants, but also the surrounding air, filling it with vitality. The stream of water sparkles in the sun, creating myriad tiny, iridescent rainbows in the air, like miniature bridges between worlds. Having finished with watering Athelas, Eleanor moves on to other medicinal herbs spread throughout the extensive garden, each having its unique place and purpose. Here is a tall, strong calendula bush, its bright orange and yellow flowers cheerfully winking in the rays of the rising sun, like small suns on stems, bringing joy by their mere sight. Calendula is known for its powerful antiseptic and anti-inflammatory properties. It is indispensable for healing wounds, cuts, and skin irritations, as well as internal inflammations. Beside it is Melissa, or lemon balm, whose light green, oval leaves emit a light but persistent citrus scent, capable of easing anxiety, calming nerves, and significantly improving sleep, bringing tranquility. She bends down to inhale this divine aroma, and a slight, peaceful smile appears on her face, reflecting inner peace. Eleanor carefully waters them too, giving each plant the same undivided attention and care as the kingsfoil, because in the elven understanding, every plant has its value, its unique strength, and its soul, which must be respected. Further along the winding path, entwined with wild grapevines and delicate flowers, grow chamomile bushes, whose light, sweetish aroma fills the air, creating an atmosphere of purity and innocence. Chamomile is a universal remedy for many ailments, from digestive disorders to insomnia. Its delicate white petals, with a golden, fluffy center, look so pure and innocent, like tiny suns. Nearby, lavender rustles, its purple, dense inflorescences creating entire carpets, covering the ground like a lilac cloud, attracting bees with its rich, honeyed scent. Lavender is known for its powerful calming properties, indispensable for preparing relaxing oils, aromatic sachets, and infusions that help with nervous tension. All these plants require sufficient moisture for their healing properties to develop fully, reaching their maximum. The watering process takes considerable time, for the gardens of Rivendell are truly vast and contain hundreds of plant species, many of which are unique and found only here. But Eleanor is in no hurry. She is not driven by clocks. This is her meditation, her way of communicating with the plant world, her daily sacred ritual, which she performs with boundless love and deep attention. She listens to the whisper of the wind in the leaves, feels the warmth emanating from the gradually warming earth under the sun's rays, and inhales the changing, constantly transforming aromas that rise with every gentle breeze, creating a unique symphony of scents. At this moment, she is not just a gardener. She is a part of this garden, its extension, its caring hand, its living embodiment, breathing in unison with every sprout. The sun's rays play in her hair, creating a golden halo, and the birdsong becomes ever more resonant and joyful. When the sun rises a little higher, reaching its zenith, and illuminates all corners of Rivendell, filling the air with warmth and light, it is time for the next important stage, pruning. This is not merely the mechanical removal of excess branches or dry leaves. It is the art of shaping, stimulating new growth, and maintaining the plant's health, akin to the work of a sculptor who removes the superfluous to reveal the true beauty and power of their creation. Eleanor takes out her sharp, impeccably honed scissors. Their blades gleam in the sun, reflecting the emerald green of the garden and the sparkling, remaining dewdrops, like tiny diamonds. She returns to Athelas, which has now absorbed the morning moisture and is filled with it. Some leaves have yellowed or show signs of disease, perhaps from a slight overnight frost, or simply from the natural process of wilting, giving up their life energy. Others, on the contrary, have grown too much, drawing strength from the main stem, preventing it from developing evenly and correctly. Eleanor carefully, with filigree precision, cuts only those parts that might harm the plant or slow its development, or which have already given up their life force and can be replaced by new ones. Each cut is a deliberate, measured decision, based on a deep understanding of the plant's life cycle and its individual needs, accumulated over long centuries. She leaves no ragged edges, does not damage neighboring shoots. Her movements are precise and accurate, like part of an ancient dance. Her touches to the plant are light and gentle, as if she fears causing pain to a living, breathing being. She speaks to them in whispers, humming ancient elven melodies, soothing and encouraging, promising new blooms. As she works, only the faint, almost imperceptible clicking of the scissors can be heard, punctuated by the buzzing of bees gathering nectar and the chirping of cicadas, creating a natural backdrop. The trimmed leaves and stems are not simply discarded on the ground or into a compost heap. as is done in human gardens. Eleanor carefully gathers them into a small woven basket made of thin willow branches, prepared beforehand for this purpose. Many of them will still serve for preparing less concentrated infusions or salves, even if they are not perfectly healthy. For even in the wilting parts of the plant, valuable elements and specks of its strength are preserved. Nothing in the gardens of Rivendell goes to waste, for even wilting parts of a plant hold a piece of its strength and can be used for less concentrated but still useful preparations, or as fertilizer for future generations. Then she moves to the chamomile bushes, whose delicate snow-white flowers with golden centers appear like a scattering of stars against the green background, creating contrast and adding light. Eleanor prunes dry or spent buds to stimulate new, more abundant flowering. She knows that the more often chamomile flowers are harvested, the more abundant its yield will be. This allows the plant to direct its energy towards forming new buds rather than ripening seeds, ensuring a constant supply of fresh, high-quality material. Beside chamomile grow mint bushes, whose leaves Eleanor also carefully thins to ensure better air circulation and stimulate juicier and more aromatic growth. Mint is an indispensable aid for headaches, digestive problems, and simply for freshness. So, step by step, Eleanor moves through the garden, as if dancing among the plants. She works with yarrow so that its white or pink flower heads become denser and more potent, with marshmallow so that its roots, used to soothe the throat and digestive system, are larger and full of sap. She also checks the condition of fomorios, a rare plant with purple flowers used to combat the most severe fevers, and goldenrod, whose leaves help with joint pain. Each type of plant requires its own special approach, its own attention, and its unique understanding. Some need thinning, others, removal of lower leaves to prevent rot, still others, shaping the bush for better access to sunlight and air. She does not rush, does not fuss. Her movements are fluid and rhythmic, like the breath of the garden itself, like an ancient elven melody that sounds in the very air, indiscernible to the human ear. By midday, when the sun is high in the sky and the air becomes warm and fragrant with countless aromas mixing into a single, intoxicating bouquet, it is time for harvesting. This is perhaps the most crucial moment, for it is now that the plant's healing powers are at their peak, having accumulated all the energy of light and earth, having absorbed all that nature can give them. Eleanor returns to her most valuable specimens, carefully choosing what is ready for harvest, what has reached the highest concentration of beneficial substances. The gathering of Athelas is always almost a ritual, an act of deep respect and gratitude. The elf does not simply pluck leaves. She selects the strongest, healthiest ones, those saturated with the morning sun and the freshness of dew, those with the greatest vitality, ready to give it to others. She nips them off carefully, trying not to harm the remaining bush, not to disrupt its integrity and ability for further growth, and places them in a basket lined with soft, snow-white linen fabric, so that the delicate leaves do not crease, lose their properties, or freshness. It is important not to take too much, so as not to weaken the plant, but enough to replenish supplies for those who need them, for the future needs of Rivendell and its guests. Elves believe that only a plant treated with respect and gratitude fully yields its healing power, revealing its potential. Sometimes, before plucking a leaf, she whispers words of thanks in Sindarin, the ancient elven language that the very earth understands, and in which elven songs have been sung for centuries. Then she gathers lavender flowers, known for their powerful calming and antibacterial properties. Their purple buds seem like tiny precious stones, shimmering under the sun's rays, and their scent is so strong and deep that it feels as if you can touch it, feel its density. Lavender will be dried and used for making aromatic sachets placed under pillows, healing oils that help with insomnia, stress, and headaches, and calming infusions. Its sweet and slightly spicy aroma blends with other garden scents, creating a unique, intoxicating, and soothing composition that lingers in the air. Eleanor also gathers valerian roots, digging them up very carefully so as not to damage the root system, and leaving a part of the plant in the ground for further growth and recovery, ensuring the continuity of the cycle. Valerian roots, though they possess a not-so-pleasant, sharp odor, are a powerful sedative, necessary for those suffering from severe anxiety, nervous tension, or chronic insomnia. For elves, who live long and eventful lives, the ability to calm the spirit is no less important than healing the body. For peace of mind is a guarantee of longevity. Her basket gradually fills with a variety of nature's gifts. Here are bright red, glossy rosehip berries, rich in vitamins and antioxidants, indispensable for maintaining immunity, especially during colder months when illness approaches. And delicate but surprisingly resilient plantain leaves, an excellent aid for cuts, scrapes, and insect bites, always found along paths, as if nature itself provided a simple remedy. And delicate, fragrant linden flowers, used for cold and fever teas, as well as for soothing baths that relax after a long day. And sharp nettle leaves, rich in iron and vitamins, used for blood purification and strengthening the entire body. Every gatherer in Rivendell knows that the ideal harvest time is unique for each plant. Some are best gathered at dawn, when the dew has not yet dried and essential oils are most concentrated. Others, in the middle of the day, under the scorching sun, when their energy peaks. And still others, closer to sunset, when their specific properties are most pronounced, as if they absorb the last rays of the day. Eleanor possesses this knowledge perfectly, passed down from generation to generation, from mentor to pupil. By the time the basket is filled to the brim, and its weight is noticeable, the sun begins to set in the west, heralding the imminent arrival of evening. Shadows grow longer and more elegant, coloring in golden and violet tones, as if the world around is preparing for sleep, and the air is again filled with coolness and humidity, foreshadowing the evening freshness and a new turn of the cycle. Eleanor carries her precious burden, the harvest, gathered with such love, attention, and gratitude, to special chambers where the herbs will be carefully air-dried in the shade to preserve their color and beneficial properties, processed into infusions, salves, tinctures, and then carefully stored in ceramic vessels or linen bags for the future needs of the elves and their guests. Some of them will be immediately sent to the Rivendell Infirmary, where healers are already awaiting fresh supplies to help those in need restore their strength and health. The care of Rivendell's gardens is not just work or a daily duty. It is a way of life, a profound philosophy passed down from generation to generation, from ancestors to descendants. It is a constant, daily reminder that nature is generous and capable of granting healing, but demands boundless respect, care, and a deep understanding of its cycles and rhythms. It is the realization that every living organism is connected to others, that everything is interconnected, and that harmony is achieved only through balance, mutual understanding, and gentle interaction. Elves believe that only with such love and attention, with such a deep connection, do herbs yield their most intimate healing powers, sharing their soul and their wisdom. They do not just grow plants, they cultivate life, hope, and healing, spreading them throughout the valley and beyond. And looking at these gardens, it is impossible not to feel a deep sense of peace, tranquility, and admiration for the inexhaustible power of nature and the wisdom of those who know how to coexist with it harmoniously, not intruding crudely, but only guiding its natural processes. These gardens are the living, beating heart of Rivendell, beating in rhythm with nature, a place where every breath is filled with the scent of hope and every touch of the earth with ancient wisdom and healing power. It is a place where time seems to have stopped to allow the world to breathe freely and souls to find peace and healing. It is an oasis where beauty and healing power intertwine into a single whole, creating a refuge for all who seek harmony and restoration. So, what do you think about such a deep and almost mystical connection to nature? Imagine having your own little corner, even if small, where you could grow herbs, care for them, and feel that amazing connection to the world around you. What would be the first healing herb you would plant, and why? Perhaps you already have such a garden, or you dream of one. Share your thoughts, feelings, and experiences in the comments below this video. I would be very interested to read them. If you enjoyed this peaceful immersion into the magical world of Rivendell, if you felt calm and inspired, please give this video a like. It helps the channel grow and allows more people to see this story. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new fascinating videos about the magic, wisdom, and wonders of this and other amazing worlds. Until next time, may your path be bright, filled with harmony and healing. When you picture an orc, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Probably a fierce warrior, axe swinging, war cry echoing, charging into battle. But what about their daily routine? Do you ever think about their breakfast, how they brush their teeth, or maybe how they feed their pets? Yes, even orcs have pets, and sometimes they require a lot more attention than you might think. Today, we're going to step into the world of one such orc, a beastmaster whose life revolves around creatures you might see as the embodiment of primal fury, the wargs. But we won't see their fury. We'll see their hunger, their needs, their habits, and that strange, almost silent bond that forms between a predator and the one who feeds it. Forget about battles, the clang of armor, and the shouts. A completely different atmosphere reigns here. It's the smell of earth, raw meat, fur, and the faint, almost imperceptible scent of rain that is soaked into the straw in the enclosures. Our hero, Grak, short by orc standards, but sturdy, with shoulders as broad as an oak board, wakes even before dawn. Not to the blast of a war horn, but to a low, guttural rumbling. It's not his stomach. It's the wargs. The first rays of dull sun, barely tinting the sky above the jagged mountain peaks, are already stirring them. They aren't fully active yet, but hunger is beginning to stir in their powerful bellies. Grak stretches, rising from his simple bed of furs. His skin, earthy green, seems almost invisible in the pre-dawn gloom. His clothing is simple, rough leather breeches, and a well-worn vest, steeped in the smells of the encampment, animals, and constant labor. He pulls on heavy boots, their soles creaking on the packed earth of his hut, which stands a little way from the enclosures. First things first, water. Wargs, like any large predator, consume a huge amount of fluid, especially after a night's sleep and before activity. Grak takes a pair of large, iron-bound wooden buckets. They are heavy, even empty, and full of water. They are a true test of strength. The spring is in a small crevice where a cold stream gushes. Its water is clean and clear, with a slight metallic taste. Each step along the stony path echoes loudly in the pre-dawn silence. The buckets sway, and water sloshes noisily over the edges, leaving wet stains on his clothes. When Grak returns, the wargs already sense his approach. Low, guttural growls, like distant thunder, begin to emanate from the enclosures. Their eyes, glowing in the dim light, watch his every move intently. He approaches the first enclosure, where an old warg named Bone Crusher is kept. With a grizzled muzzle and scars like an old map, he lifts his head, his nostrils flaring, catching the scent of fresh water. Grak slowly pours water into the heavy stone trough. Bone Crusher, without breaking eye contact, approaches and begins to drink greedily, making loud lapping sounds. The other wargs in adjacent enclosures, hearing this, begin to whine and snort impatiently. This isn't aggression, but pure thirst. Grak goes around each enclosure, repeating the ritual, observing the habits of his charges each time. Young, still foolish wargs might spill the water, while older, more experienced ones drink carefully, but with the same eagerness. After water comes the most important part, food. This is the core of the day, the culmination of the morning routine. Grak heads to the meat storage area. It's a small earthen dugout where butchered animal carcasses, brought in by the tribe's hunters, are kept cool. The air here is heavy, saturated with the smells of blood, fur, and game. Grak selects a carcass, suitable in size and freshness. Today, it will be part of a young deer, another one. He drags it to a massive tree stump, used as a chopping block, and pulls out his huge cleaver. Its blade isn't shiny, but it's keenly sharpened and sturdy. The sound of the cleaver biting into flesh and cartilage, a dull, rhythmic thud, echoes throughout the encampment. The wargs in the enclosures react instantly. Their voices grow louder, growls turning into impatient, almost demanding snarls. They pace back and forth in their enclosures, their powerful bodies moving with primal grace, eyes gleaming, full of anticipation. Grak pays no attention to their impatience. His movements are honed by years of practice. He cuts large pieces of meat, taking into account the size and appetite of each warg. For old Bone Crusher, a smaller piece for the largest, whom Grak calls Thunder, the biggest and fattest piece. He knows each warg's habits. He knows who prefers meat with bones, who prefers pure filet. He knows which of them is ready to swallow a piece whole, and who will savor it for a long time. This knowledge comes not from books, but from hundreds of sunrises and sunsets spent alongside these predators. It is forged in silence, in observation, in understanding without words. When all the pieces are arranged on wooden trays, Grak approaches the enclosures again. First, as always, Bone Crusher receives his portion. Grak tosses him a piece, and he catches it in midair, without a sound, just a low rumble. Then he retreats to the corner of the enclosure to enjoy his meal without unnecessary witnesses. The others follow. Each warg gets its share. And this is where it gets interesting. Despite their wild nature, Grak's wargs show surprising discipline. Of course, there's snarling. There's fighting over the best pieces if they happen to cross paths. But there's no chaos, no unbridled aggression that one might expect from such beasts. Grak has created his own order in their world. He doesn't use whips or sticks, only his voice, his gaze, and his presence. His low, guttural voice, uttering the names of the wargs, or short, clipped commands, can calm even the most agitated beast. The sounds that fill the air during feeding are an entire symphony. Wet chomping, the crunch of bones under powerful jaws, quiet, contented growls, sometimes a short, sharp whine if a piece is too big or sharp. Occasionally, one of the wargs lifts its head and looks at Grak, chewing its meat. In that gaze, there is neither fear nor subservience. There is something akin to gratitude, but more likely a simple, animal understanding of who brings the food, who ensures survival. Grak watches them as they eat. He monitors their condition, whether their fur is shiny, if there's any lameness, how they behave. In his world, a warg isn't just an animal. It's a part of his life, his responsibility. Some young wargs try to play with the pieces of meat, snarling at each other, trying to snatch another's. But Grak stops them with a single glance, a low, warning growl. He understands it's their nature, but he also understands he must maintain order. When the last pieces of meat disappear into the warg's jaws, silence falls. Sated, they either lie down, breathing heavily, or begin to lick their fur, cleaning off remnants of blood and fat. The air becomes even thicker with the smell of raw meat, but now it's mixed with the scent of contentment and peace. Grak takes the heavy water buckets and brushes. Now it's time to clean up. He washes the troughs, scoops out leftover food, and cleans the enclosures. It's dirty work, but he does it with the same methodical calm. Cleanliness is the key to the warg's health, and their health is Grak's life. As the sun climbs higher, the routine eases. The wargs, full, doze, or simply observe the world. Grak, having finished cleaning, steps aside, sits on a log, leaning his back against the enclosure wall. He pulls out a small piece of dried meat and begins to eat himself, unhurriedly, breathing in the fresh morning air, cleansed of the damp and meat smell. He doesn't feel tired. This is his life. This is his daily ritual. Sometimes, when Grak sits like this, one of the wargs, most often Old Bone Crusher, approaches the enclosure bars. He lies down nearby, just a meter from Grak, and lays his massive head on his paws. Their gazes meet. In this moment, there are no words. There is only a strange, silent understanding. Bone Crusher's gaze, full of ancient wisdom and weariness, tells Grak more than any words ever could. And Grak's gaze, in turn, expresses respect and affection that are alien to common notions of orcish nature. This routine, this daily cycle of feeding, watering, and care, might seem monotonous and boring to an outsider. But for Grak, it's not just work. It's a meditation, a connection, a purpose. He is a beast master, and his world revolves around these wild yet devoted creatures. He is their provider, their protector, and at times, the only one who can understand their silent language. These are not the grand battles, glorious campaigns, or loud victories that sagas are made of. This is quiet, constant work that ensures the survival of the entire tribe. Without strong and healthy wargs, hunting would be impossible, and the defense of the encampment would be weakened. So, The next time you picture an orc, maybe you'll remember more than just axes and battles. Perhaps you'll also see Grak, the orc beastmaster, who every morning, before the sun rises, performs his quiet yet incredibly vital ritual. You'll hear the low growls and snorts of the wargs, smell the damp earth and raw meat, and perhaps you'll understand that even in the harshest of worlds, there's a place for strange yet genuine attachment and a deep, silent understanding between creatures that, by all accounts, should be enemies. This is the routine in the beast pens, and it is just as vital as any fight, any campaign, any heroic deed. For it is the foundation of everything. It is life. And in that lies its true, understated beauty. If you found this glimpse into Grak's world fascinating, hit that like button, subscribe for more unique stories, and let us know in the comments what other aspects of Orcish life you'd be curious to explore. Ever wondered what true tranquility truly feels like? Not just the quiet of an empty room, but a profound, almost spiritual stillness that wraps around you, settling deep into your very bones, like the softest, most comforting blanket you could imagine. In our bustling, always-on world, finding that kind of deep silence, that perfect quiet, feels like a rare treasure, almost a luxury. But believe it or not, there are places on Earth where silence doesn't just exist, it reigns supreme. And one such place, ancient and endless, is the vast, rolling plains of Rohan. Here, beneath an incredible, sweeping night sky, time itself seems to slow, and all the whispers of nature blend into one magnificent, soothing song. Picture this with me. You're seated firmly atop your loyal steed, right in the middle of this immense, green wilderness. Around you, there's not a single glimmer of man-made light, not even the faint glow of a distant dwelling. Just the horizon, fading into an absolute inky darkness. And above, billions upon billions of stars, flung across the black velvet of the sky, each one sparkling brighter than the most perfect diamond. You are just one solitary rider, keeping watch in this immense, majestic emptiness, a living thread in an ancient tradition, connecting generations long past to this very moment. Your duty seems simple, yet it feels incredibly sacred. To be the eyes and ears where anyone else would just see darkness and hear nothing at all. But you'll soon discover this silence, this deep quiet, is actually bursting with life. It breathes. It sings. The very first note in this incredible night symphony, of course, is the wind. It's the eternal traveler of these lands, the very voice and breath of the plains themselves. Here, the wind never truly sleeps. You'll hear its light, gentle whisper, weaving its way through the impossibly tall, dry grass that seems to stretch all the way to the heavens. This whisper carries with it a subtle, fresh scent of earth, of something undefinably wild, something primordial. As the wind dances through the grass blades, each one responds with its own tiny sound, like a million miniature violins playing the same endless, humming melody. Sometimes the wind picks up, gaining strength, and that soft whisper transforms into a long, drawn-out sigh, almost a mournful hum, as if the ancient spirits of the plains are leaning in to share their deepest secrets. The grass begins to sway with more energy then, creating vast, rippling waves that wash across the entire landscape, disappearing into the darkness far beyond your sight. You feel its soft touch on your face, cool and refreshing, as if it's gently wiping away all the day's worries, leaving behind only the pure clarity of the present moment. This isn't just air moving. It's a living presence, wrapping itself around you from every direction, a powerful reminder of nature's sheer grandeur and your own small, yet absolutely vital part in this boundless world. And beneath you, providing a steadfast anchor in this ocean of quiet, is your loyal companion, your powerful horse. You hear its calm, steady breathing, deep and reassuring, as if it's setting the very rhythm for the entire night. Every so often, it lets out a soft snort, exhaling a puff of warm vapor from its nostrils that momentarily shimmers in the cold air before vanishing back into the darkness. It's a sound of life, of warmth, of solid presence, and it brings a deep sense of reliability and comfort. The horse will occasionally shift its weight, and you'll hear the soft, almost muted rustle of its hooves on the dry grass, a subtle but distinct sound that somehow only makes the overall quiet feel even more profound. Its head sometimes nods almost imperceptibly, as if it, too, is listening to the wind's song, catching the same invisible notes that you are. Between you and this noble creature, there's a deep, unspoken connection, built on pure trust and mutual respect. You can feel its warmth radiating up through the thick saddle blanket, the comforting heat of a living being, so precious in this cold, silent night. Its powerful body, its incredible endurance, all of it reminds you of the quiet strength and resilience required for such a solitary, important service. Then, of course, there's the distinct creak of the saddle leather. This is perhaps the most intimate sound you'll hear in this nocturnal quiet. That familiar creak of old, well-worn leather beneath your shifting weight. It's a sound that tells a story of countless miles traveled, of so many hours spent keeping vigil. It speaks of reliability, of comfort, of deeply ingrained habit. It's not a harsh or irritating sound at all. Instead, it's remarkably soothing, like an ancient lullaby, whispering tales of long journeys in a true, unwavering path. Every small movement you make, every slight shift in the saddle, brings forth this characteristic, melodic creak that has become an essential part of your nightly ritual. It's a sound that anchors you to reality, to the feel of your own body, your precise position in space, reminding you that you're not simply dissolving into the vast infinity, but are an active, present participant in this night watch. And in that sound, you hear echoes of hundreds of other riders who stood watch before you, their invisible shadows seeming to blend with yours, forming an unbroken chain of generations. This creaking song of the leather is a story told without any words at all, a story of journey, of enduring, and of unwavering loyalty. But then, a moment arrives when all these sounds, the soft whisper of the wind, the gentle snort of your horse, the comforting creak of the saddle, seem to gently recede into the background, dissolving completely into the silent, all-encompassing beauty of the stars. The night sky over Rohan is, quite simply, a breathtaking spectacle. Here, with no hint of light pollution, the Milky Way arches above you like a vast, milky river, a celestial path stretching to worlds unknown. Myriads of stars, from tiny, barely discernible pinpricks to bright, pulsating beacons, feel so incredibly close you could almost reach out and touch them. You tilt your head back, and your neck might ache just a little from staring up so long, but you simply cannot tear your eyes away. Every constellation, every single star, feels like a part of an ancient cosmic history, written in light and etched by time itself. You feel like the tiniest speck of sand in this immense universe, yet, at the very same time, you feel profoundly connected to something grand and eternal. It's a strange, unique feeling of both humility and immense grandeur, something only experienced in these rare moments of deep solitude and quiet contemplation. You can easily pick out familiar shapes: the hunter, the great bear, the chariot, their outlines clearly etched across the celestial dome, as if an invisible hand meticulously painted them there. These constellations aren't just random clusters of light. They are ancient landmarks, guiding lights for travelers and watchmen, a map that never lies, never shifts. Their cold, shimmering glow fills you with a deep sense of calm and a certainty in the unchanging nature of the cosmos. They are a powerful reminder that despite all the storms and upheavals on Earth, above us always remains this eternal, unyielding canvas, witnessed by generations before you, and destined to be seen by generations long after. Time itself during this vigil seems to lose its linear progression. It becomes cyclical, flowing like the steady breathing of the plains themselves. There are no hours, no minutes ticking by, only the subtly changing shades of darkness, the incredibly slow, majestic movement of the stars across the sky. The night is deep, and every tiny rustle, every soft sound takes on a profound, special significance. Perhaps it's the distant hoot of an owl, echoing softly through the vast space, or the faint squeak of a field mouse scurrying through the tall grass. These sounds don't disturb the peace. Instead, they somehow emphasize the silence, making it feel even more tangible. They don't break the tranquility, but rather weave themselves into it, becoming part of its complex living pattern. You become one with this plane. Your senses sharpen to their absolute limit, and you feel every subtle vibration of this world. Your attention doesn't scatter. It remains focused, yet wonderfully relaxed, allowing you to catch the most subtle changes in your surroundings. You're not frantically searching for a threat in every rustle, but you are absolutely ready for it if it appears. This isn't fear. It's a deep, intuitive understanding of the territory, its natural rhythms, and its ever-changing moods. It is in these precise moments that you truly grasp the deeper meaning of your vigil. It's not just about scanning the horizon for an enemy, though that is undeniably part of your duty. No, it is, first and foremost, about maintaining a profound connection with this land, with its very soul, with its ancient, timeless rhythms. It's a kind of meditation that completely clears your mind of all distractions, filling your heart with a deep sense of tranquility and a crystal clear awareness of your purpose. In this incredible solitude, you discover true strength, the strength of spirit, the strength to endure, the strength that comes from selfless service. You feel yourself as part of something far, far greater than just an individual. You are a guardian, an invisible sentinel whose quiet presence, though unseen by others, silently protects this entire world. There is no glory in such a watch, no applause, only the wind and the stars as your silent witnesses. But it's precisely in this absence of external praise that its true, quiet value lies. Your reward is a deep inner harmony, an unwavering sense of rightness in your path, a profound peace that truly permeates every cell of your being. Gradually, as the night begins its slow approach to its end, the sky overhead starts to subtly transform. The brightest stars, those brilliant diamonds, begin to soften, their light gently fading, dissolving into the pre-dawn blue. The eastern horizon starts to paint itself in the most gentle, ethereal hues of violet, soft pink, and warm orange, quietly heralding the imminent arrival of the sun. The cold of the night seems to grow sharper, more piercing in these final moments. But within it, you can already feel the undeniable promise of a brand new day. The wind picks up, intensifying, as if bidding a fond farewell to the lingering darkness and enthusiastically welcoming the dawn. Its whisper becomes more energetic, almost a soft, inviting call. Your horse raises its head, its ears twitching alertly, catching the very first subtle sounds of the waking world. It is the changing of the guard. The stars slowly yield their rein to the sun. Night gently gives way to day. And you, the solitary rider, have been an intimate witness to this eternal, magnificent transformation, an integral part of it all. This night, vigil isn't just about watching. It's a deep immersion into the very heart of nature, a silent dialogue with the wind, with the heavens, with the quiet, steadfast companion beneath you. It's a precious time when you can truly hear yourself, your deepest thoughts, and find your own unique place in this vast, overwhelmingly beautiful world. And when those first golden rays of the sun finally touch the plains, when warm light spills across the endless fields, you will know that your song of wind and stars has been sung, and this quiet yet incredibly mighty melody has left an indelible mark upon your soul, strengthening it, filling it with renewed power for a brand new day. This, truly, is what it means to be a watchman on the plains of Rohan, to become part of this timeless song, to become one with the world that surrounds you, and to find profound peace and enduring strength in the boundless silence and the magnificent grandeur of the night sky. If this journey into the heart of Rohan resonated with you, please consider hitting that subscribe button for more tales like this one. Give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below.